Kartik, welcome to the Commerce Talks podcast. Today at Seamless Dubai again. We are recording a couple of shows here, and we have in this session with me Lina, who's gonna ask like the first 10 minutes of questions. Before she's doing this, Kartik, please can you introduce yourself for a couple of minutes and what Sharaf is doing?
So thank you so much for hosting me this afternoon. I represent Sharaf Retail. Sharaf Retail is the lifestyle, fashion, indulgence and adventure retail's arm of Sharaf Group. Typically operate in 9 countries, 8 brands, 100 plus outlets, 2,000 plus people, and growing progressively year on year. Focus of being digitization and omnichannel in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
We've been in the region for almost 30 years and have grown from 1 country to 11 countries in the last 8 to 10 years.
Can you give, before Lina is asking like the very, very hard, tough e-commerce question, like a rough, some rough numbers? So what kind of revenue are we talking? How many people are working for Sharaf?
Sharaf is
a bit more distance. More distance, like this. Yeah.
Sharaf is typically a 2,000 plus organization, 2,000 plus people organization. Started with around 200 million revenue. Pre-COVID went to around $1 billion, came down to around 400, and now is steadily growing up to $1 billion again. So we're growing. Our digital revenue comes in at anywhere between 8 to 12%, and the brick and mortar revenue is the remaining. We haven't ventured into the wholesale and distribution arm of the business yet.
Okay. Lina, what kind of tough questions have you brought for Kartik today?
So, first of all, Kartik, it's really like a pleasure to have you on the podcast. And for listeners around the world, I can just say that Kartik is one of the people in this region that actually did go from brick and mortar to multi-channel, omnichannel. And so that's exciting journey and experience you have. But the second thing, I think, is just the variety of different brands that you serve is phenomenal. And, you know, we're talking everything from fashion, like fast fashion, like Forever 21, right? Where you probably get the very young consumers, to people like myself, you know, who sometimes decides to climb, you know, Mount Kilimanjaro and, and turns to your Adventure HQ to buy quite a complex list of products that I have no idea about. And I trust your team. You know, I do a research online and then maybe I interact online and offline. So as you're covering such a wide spectrum of different brands, maybe you can tell us a bit more around profitability versus growth. Where do you stand? Because a lot of digital brands, you know, were all growth at any expense. And a lot of brick and mortar brands are all about profitability first over growth. What about Sharaf Retail, and what's your view on that?
One needs to give you an answer to that. I might need to take you back a few steps. Sharaf typically is a family-owned business built over 4 generations with 8 to 10 different divisions, shipping being the largest. It's come in with a philosophy of sustainable, scalable, people-first growth. So we are not about valuations. We are not a venture-funded business. We do not thrive on scaling top line at a cost of bottom line. What we thrive on is goals and revenues and top line, bottom line that can be consistently achieved year on year. So you would not see us growing at 50-60% year on year. That's not a kind of scale that we aspire. But what we aspire is to create a very solid foundation which can continue to sustain and survive over the next few years, while the proceeds from that would fund our e-commerce business. Our online business, historically, which started way back in 2019, 2020, is also not about a valuation-driven, venture-funded business. So while we know that we wouldn't be able to drive profitability from year 2, year 3 onwards, we are mindful of the fact that growth has to come in at some level of optimization of expenses, some level of synergies between the 2 channels, some level of synergies between the brands, in a manner that we can drive that whole 360-degree ecosystem in a profitable manner. So some of my businesses might not be profitable, some of my brands might not be profitable, but at an enterprise level, we strive towards optimizing them.
Yeah, and I think, for the global set of speakers, listeners, it's very interesting, because I think this region is really maybe what we're seeing going in the West in terms of some tech layoffs and all. Here, we were always so cautious about profitability that even though there might be a slowdown, we're not as affected as maybe some of the Western countries, in terms of.
Definitely. If you noticed, post-COVID, probably this was the first region to bounce back and go back to the regular business trends, driven by a proactive government, very strong consumerism, strong tourist inflows, and I would say robust fundamentals of the business. We have not been into a situation where post-COVID we've had to, let's say, strive and work hard for growth. Growth has been coming in, but growth has come in at a lot of optimization. Gone are the days when businesses would survive on truckloads and millions of units of inventory. Today, inventory is a key underlying factor. Human resources, which typically used to be 14-15% of the expenses, have come down to 9% of the expenses, and people are still looking at optimizing. What has happened is, unlike a lot of Western economies where there was oversupply of human resources, the avenues of business have reopened so quickly in the region that the same supply of human resources is now catering to that much more business. I used to work at in 100 stores. Today I work at 140 stores and 4 channels. So the same team is able to cater to that 140, 150 stores and multiple channels. So it's not about laying off people. It's about optimizing and making sure that they deliver.
Can you, because we have very quickly introduced the business, and you said you're active in so many different industries. Shipping is one of your largest industries. So what are the stores about? What are you selling exactly for the ones that especially know European store infrastructure?
So I'll give you an idea about the brands that we have. Forever 21 is a relationship that we have for last 21 years. We used to own that relationship with the Chang family. Then the business went bankrupt, filed Chapter 11 in 2019, got bought over by ABG. So today we are one of the largest licensee partners for ABG in the world. We work with Cotton On Group, which is an Australian business with 6 brands. Out of that, 5 brands is what we have in the region: Cotton On, Typo, Body, Mina, Ruby. We have Adventure HQ, which is an Emirati in-house developed brand. We started with around 20 brands in it, and today we have 130, 140 adventure brands and 50 to 60 fitness brands in our store. Across the businesses, along with that, we also have an adventure zone, which is an outdoor, indoor activity arena. We have Chill Out, which is an experiential lounge, Hello Kitty Beauty Spa, and we have our coffee shops. Across our business,
and it's all under the Sharaf umbrella.
This is under Sharaf Retail umbrella. Apart from Sharaf Retail umbrella, there is Sharaf DG, which is the electronics arm of the business. Then there's Sharaf Hospitality.
But that's quite a far stretch for one brand. So how this you've described, I don't know, 5 different brand experiences. So but you are putting it all under one name. So why is this?
So historically, if you see in this region, there were 3 large brand houses. There's Apparel with the maximum number of brands. Then there's Landmark, who used to have brands and has moved towards their own labels. And then there is Sharaf Group. Then there are a lot of other businesses like BNA, Liva. All of them have bought brands from different parts of the world and made sure that they're democratized in the region. We have been cautious of the brands we wanted to grow. We are in the lifestyle, indulgence, and outdoor space only. We haven't moved into any other space. We are not in the luxury space. We are not in the, I would say, beauty and cosmetic space. We continue to focus here. The reason why we are able to manage these brands is because of the individual relationships that we've had. So one of them is a large push model business. One of them is a pull model business. The other is an aggregator model business. So with different teams catering to their different business requirements, I think we are able to do a good job of managing them. Whether we want to add more brands, yes, we would add more brands in the same space. We might not venture out into a new category for the moment.
So just on that, I think what's also interesting is, Alex, you mentioned, it's a lot of brands under one umbrella. But what's also, I was saying in Sharaf Retail, it's interesting is if you take Forever 21, right? So globally it's bankrupt, and here you are successful. So maybe you can tell the speaker, the listeners, where is the success coming from, and how you surviving in this region where it's not the size of the United States, but you managed to keep the brand going, and it's a successful brand.
So 2019, the Chang family filed Chapter 11 in Forever 21, and the brand was bought over at abysmally low valuations by ABG Group. ABG Group then started licensing the brand into different regions. Today we have license for GCC and Far East. The reason why we've grown is we continued to invest in our stores. We continued to invest in omnichannel. We continued to find alternative ways of merchandising our business. While it was a push model, it was difficult to move from a push model to a pull model. But the fact that we went quickly to a pull model and then started local sourcing and licensing of merchandise through our own partners in different parts of the world helped us ensure that we could work towards a 52-week freshness. Forever 21 is about 52-week freshness on the floor, and we could optimize some of the inventory, which a lot of other regional partners had challenges, especially in Latin America and North America, where the moment the Chang family filed for bankruptcy, couple of years of inventory was flushed down every retail partner's throat. We could manage that and bring our own inventory to the table.
And just understanding like your coverage geographically, on what regions here are you focusing? What cities are you operating in?
So we are very strong in UAE. We are building our presence in Oman, Bahrain, and we are exponentially trying to scale our presence in KSA. KSA is a next big frontier for 2023. Parallelly, we are very strong in Malaysia. We're building Indonesia, Singapore. Thailand, we existed in Thailand and Singapore. We came out during COVID. And we may explore India as a geography in the later half of the year.
In all those regions, you're always operating under this Sharaf Retail brand.
Yeah. Everything is always under Sharaf Retail, company-owned showrooms. We haven't gone to the level of sub-franchising and sub-leasing it out to others. We believe in managing it on our own.
And what is like pushing your growth more? Is it like adding another brand offering under Sharaf Retail, or is it like adding new features in the online channel?
Actually, it's all of it. We've got so much fine-tuning and so much optimizing to do that even if we were to continue doing this for next 2 years, we would unlock a lot of value. We've not reached a level where we can proudly go out and say that we are doing it right every time. We make a lot of mistakes. We make mistakes every week. When we stop making mistakes, we would see that we would grow double-digit year on year in our existing outlets. Over and above that, in the same geographies, we have still a lot of opportunities to open more outlets. We've got more geographies. Our online channel is already growing at anywhere between 35 to 50%, depending on what brand, what geography I'm talking about. We've got 16 geographies for the online channel to pick up. We've got a marketplace of our own coming up. So there's so much that we can do. And another brand would be a complete distraction, I would say, but still there's a lot of opportunity. So growth is multidimensional. I don't know how many dimensions, but it's multidimensional.
Okay, I think I'll just ask the last question before I leave you, gentlemen. And I think what's very interesting, because maybe, Alex, you also don't know, under Sharaf Retail, they have a very interesting concept of Adventure HQ. So Kartik can tell you more about what they sell. But they approach the whole omnichannel on that platform completely differently than the way they approach, let's say, omnichannel at Forever 21, right? Which is like a fashion, very traditional, e-commerce driven website. While on Adventure HQ, it's more like Airbnb, I would say, right? So maybe you can share even that sort of dimension. Imagine managing something like this with the same team, like we have a traditional checkout and we have a checkout which is pretty much like booking your Uber. So Kartik, maybe you can share like what are you doing at Adventure HQ?
So we're the only adventure retailer in the region. There's nobody who has got categories all the way from hiking, biking, camping, 4x4 outdoor fitness, snorkeling, water sports, you name it.
Because people are not doing so much outdoor stuff here, I would say.
You'd be surprised. There is a huge demand for it. The challenge is about availability because it's a very, I would say, versatility and knowledge-driven business. Our belief typically, and we are used to people going to the stores and picking up what they want. You'd be surprised when people come to buy camping, they definitely don't know what they're looking at. There are three kinds of consumers we meet. One,
but they said, is here in Dubai, is there people going camping?
Oh, massive. You'd be surprised. So there are three kinds of consumers we get. One is a pro adventurer. A pro adventurer is somebody who does 100 kilometers every week on a bike, climbs one mountain, does 15 days of camping, loves treks, loves hikes, runs triathlons. For him, it's about knowing that there's an Adventure HQ which has 50,000 SKUs across 200 brands. Whatever he needs in the adventure space, he can just go and pick up. But the remainder is your typical aspiring and an intermediate or a pro learner who doesn't know what he wants, but he needs to go out and do an adventure. Or a typical Emirati customer, an Arab expat who wants to go to the desert, but doesn't know what he needs to do. So he comes to the store and says, I am going out for a camping expedition with my family. That's where the journey begins. You invest a couple of hours to understand who is he going with, where is he going, how many people are going, how many days are they going, what location are they going. And the journey begins by saying, okay, you want a tent, 4 people tent, 5 people tent, 6 people tent. You want an open tent, a gazebo. You want a tent with air supply, waterproof, thermal proof, what kind of tent? Then you come to the sleeping bag. If you're going to Hatta, you need a plus 20 degree sleeping bag. But if you're going somewhere in the Alps or if you're going to Kilimanjaro base, you need a minus 5 degree sleeping bag. Then you come to your high poles. Then you come to your stretcher. Then you come to your cooking utensils. Are you going to do overnight? You would need a power charger or a power bank, which is again a bulky product. Are you going to go out as a family? You would need a carry bag. You would need a backpack. So the entire camping journey is an invigorating experience for a shopper, and we are trying to build it online, which is what we call as an intent-driven assisted shopping experience. So yes, Adventure HQ is a unique space, a very differential opportunity for us to build.
And those retail stores you're building within existing malls, or you're building outside of malls?
So it's an accident that we opened our first Adventure HQ store in Times Square, but we believe that it's a combination of both that would work. UAE still doesn't have a lot of options in the high street retailing or off-mall locations. But as we venture into KSA, we would typically look at a large 30,000 square feet location, which would
Is this size available in malls? Is this
so we don't operate those kind of stores in the UAE. In UAE, we operate only 20,000 square feet store. But outside of UAE, we operate large stores.
Okay.
At.
But that's when you're driving here around Dubai or like even in Riyadh, and you see like there's another mall and a big mall and there's another mall, and I say, okay, yes, many people are like coming to this region, but there must be kind of a saturation level achieved sometimes. How many malls can survive in this kind of environment? Do you see saturation already?
Oh yeah, definitely. So with every new mall coming up, there's one mall that dies. So,
but what kind of mall is dying? Old malls, small malls?
So it's about geographies. Let's say if today we are operating in the central Dubai, Creek area, Harbour area, or Mirdif, Warka, the older properties are dying and the newer locations like Al Zaya are picking up traction. Dubai Hills, which has come in between Dubai Mall and Mirdif, is becoming a very popular destination, not at the expense of Mall of Emirates and Dubai and Dubai Hills, but at the expense of a Mirdif city center. So locations are coming up, but older locations are sometimes losing relevance. Malls are going towards renovation. At the end of the day, it's the same number of people that are living in the city. Whether they shop from here or there depends on how unique the proposition is, how unique the offering is in the malls.
But like for the Adventure HQ business, for example, it was such a variety of products, and you could even offer activity things within the store, like a big tank where people can try out their scuba diving equipment or could try out like archery or whatever. That would be like reason enough to find locations outside of big malls. It might be even cheaper for you. Is this something you can see in the region, or are like people really drawn into this kind of mall thing?
In UAE, we might see a challenge in that. But outside of UAE, especially in KSA, where high street is a known phenomenon, we see an opportunity to build something in off-site or off-mall locations. A typical 30,000 square feet warehouse location, which can accommodate all the 9-10 categories. Yes.
Okay. When you're looking into your like e-commerce operations, what is it right now you're focusing on? Is it like getting more stores up and running? Is it more on the loyalty side, getting your email campaigns more personalized, getting into WhatsApp newsletters or different things? So what is the biggest challenge?
I think all of them. All of them are important. All of them are priority. But for us, what is important is that for Forever 21, Adventure HQ and Cotton On and our marketplace that we are planning, let's get the fundamentals right. Let's get the platform up and running. Let's get the inventory plugged in, merchant centers aligned so that the engine starts running, and then we start optimizing the engine by getting our acquisition cost under control, opening up further channels of through the funnel, optimizing the funnel in a manner that our repeats and retention increases so that our overall viability of the business continues to grow. And then we would get into fine-tuning the entire UX UI from a CRO point of view to make sure that how is it that we plug the gap from a 1.5-2% conversion to a 3.5-4%. Industry is slowly moving towards a 3.5-4% conversion in this space. How do we reach there? How do we optimize the customer's basket value? How do we try and bring in a lot of referral business into our fold?
And you obviously have then a lot of like omnichannel customers that go in the store and buy in your online experience. But what was the adoption accelerated during COVID when some of the stores had to be closed?
So when the stores had to be closed during COVID, our e-commerce business was born as a necessity out of COVID. It never existed before that. So when we opened the business during COVID, we realized whatever was available, people were shopping. But as the markets continued to open and as the business came back to normalcy, while a lot of consumers went back to the conventional space, a lot of consumers continued to shop with us online because they got used to the idea of continuing the online purchases. And today we use that ecosystem to drive a lot of lookalike audiences and referral audiences back into the business. The key determining factor is what gets bought online versus what gets bought offline are very different categories. The shopping behavior, the shopping mindset, the time spent on the website, number of sessions, etc. is very different.
And what we've seen in other regions of the world is that usually marketplaces are taking over a big part of the online market share, like Amazon in the Western world or some other marketplaces in Europe, like Bol.com in the Netherlands or Mercado Libre in South America, because like more offers, more SKUs, like more leverage, like on the logistics. That is something that's really, really, really sticky with the customers. What's your view here? So you're like running different brands. Every brand obviously has the challenge of acquiring customers, retaining customers within like the ecosystems. Are you afraid of like big marketplaces taking over your hardly fought for online share?
So I would say we have a marketplace policy. We engage with marketplaces on differential merchandise, on differential pricing. We might not be comfortable moving away from a marketplace to an outright buy, because then we would try and compete with our own merchandise and our own rankings in the Google ecosystem. But what we continue to encourage is healthy participation with marketplaces in the regions that we operate, so that at the end of the day the customer gets a holistic view and a rounded offering.
But what I can buy at Sharaf Retail is you sell exclusively. So there's no other places I can buy Forever 21 or Adventure HQ stuff.
No. You cannot buy a Forever 21 same merchandise anywhere else. What is being sold on Forever 21 online or what is being sold on in our Forever 21 stores. Maybe some of it or a select line might go to some of the marketplaces as we venture into that territory in the next few months, but otherwise you would not see it anywhere else.
So you say you don't see a problem at all, like having inventory which you have like exclusive access on in a seller model on marketplaces, so you control the price. Eventually, you don't want to. You want like a third party controlling the price, running campaigns.
We're going through that journey with one of the large marketplaces as a pilot to see how does that ecosystem coexist. If things work out, then maybe by August we would be present in one or two marketplaces in the region. But it's going to be a very cautious journey. It's not something that we have built into our business fundamentals as a growth pillar.
But all the stuff you're selling at Adventure HQ, that's also exclusively sold by you?
Not all of us, not all of it. Out of the 200 brands that we have at Adventure HQ, around 14-15 brands are exclusive to us, which only we have. The remaining is merchandise available from different partners. The fact that I am the only guy who has all the merchandise in camping and all the merchandise in hiking and all the merchandise in biking makes me unique. Not the brands that I carry. It's about everything under one roof that makes me unique.
Okay, but there's like quite a possibility that some of those brands are under price pressure because they might not control their own distribution that well. So there might be like a lot of stock available on marketplaces for low prices. And then people might come to your store and say, you know, Kartik, this tent here you've presented to me, I saw it online for 50% of the price. So
critical categories, critical brands and critical products, we control the prices. These are exclusive to us.
Ah, okay. Makes sense. Totally makes sense. How? And you said you've ventured into Malaysia and
we are very strong in Malaysia. We are venturing into Singapore. We were present in Singapore pre-COVID. During COVID, we wound up that operation.
How did this come? Because I don't see there's no synergy effects customer-wise on these regions.
Sharaf Retail has been in multiple geographies. Sharaf Retail was in GCC. It was in Russia. It was in Far East. It had a small Australian operations. It had a small South African operations as well. And then we started consolidating the business. So with Forever 21, we went into multiple geographies. Far East was a very strong market for us. COVID disoriented us a little bit, but we are going back. We've opened 5 stores in last 6 months and we plan to open another 7-8 stores. Our Malaysia platform goes live day after tomorrow. So yeah.
Okay, let's at the end of the podcast focus a bit like on the region momentum. So some of the guests told me that within the last 12 months after the Ukraine war, there's like lots of new momentum coming into this region. Lots of like building projects are restarted. I think they're even rebuilding the World and the Palm too. So do you see it also like in retail, like things are picking up, more competition on interesting retail inventory and retail space?
Some categories are seeing a lot of competition. Some categories are seeing a very strong consumer demand. But the cyclicity of this demand is purely dependent on tourist inflow and depending on how the local sentiments are. So we've seen positive green shoots in the last few months. We hope that it continues to the end of the year.
Is this region dependent also on like Chinese tourism? Because this is going to pick up like in Q3, Q4, I've been told.
This region is dependent on tourism. It's tourism from different parts of the world. It depends on the Russian tourism, Asian tourism, Chinese tourism, European tourism, different types of different parts of the year. But our peak business is anywhere between September to March. So September to March decides the fate of the rest of the year.
Okay. Kartik, I definitely want to see now an Adventure HQ store. So you have to guide me through the best mall where I can see it. Thank you for your time.